Welcome back to LEGO Battlebots Season 3. It is the time for the tournament. 32 bots remain. 4 episodes later, we'll see one crowned the champion of Season 3. And kicking things off in this bracket, we are going to look at the top right quadrant, where we will see the 10 seed Tantrum take on the 23 seed The Elementals. Now, Tantrum, as we know, is a very classic, very capable bot. They made it all the way to the finals in Season 1, took the number 1 seed, made a nearly undefeated run before being barely stopped with Fight Force. Season 2, they made it less far to the quarterfinals before being taken out by Tantrum. And now they're looking to make another run in their 3rd straight tournament appearance in as many seasons. They have a decent wedge and a very powerful weapon. They're fairly durable as well, and they've just got everything decently solid and an extra oomph in that weapon. While the Elementals, their first tournament appearance, and they are not looking all that bad. Sure, they haven't been the most incredible or most explosive bot, but they are here for a 4-1 overall, 3-1 in the regular season, and they haven't up in any of the matches. They had an advantage in the first selection. They can choose between 4 different bots to fight their opponents, and that could always leave a surprise factor. Bots with different configurations could choose wrong, but who knows what they're gonna pick against Tantrum in that, and their choice here could be the key to pulling off a massive upset here. Let's go down to the arena to see if that happens. The Elementals have chosen Lightning, the vertical spinner, in this crucial fight. Let the tournament begin! Both bots spinning up, and it's Lightning who gets underneath the Elementals. Off to a great start here as Tantrum on the ropes in the start of the second round of 32 fights in a row. Last season they struggled against Gingerbread, but they were able to get the win there. But the Elementals and Lightning getting Tantrum onto the screws. Great performance. Now Tantrum gets to the side, but unable to get underneath and land a hit. And now they spin up again, and there's another shot by the Elementals. Lightning completely in control here, flipping Tantrum over. This could be a massive upset if things keep up like this, but Tantrum firing back with a solid shot of its own. That weapon is much more powerful than the Elementals, so you can see there as Lightning goes flying again, but they're still on their wheels, so they could still have a chance, but there's the flip, and that is probably gonna do it. Yep, what a shot there to end the fight. Oh my goodness, the Elementals, Lightning started off this fight incredibly. I mean, they did much better than I think anyone expected to. They got underneath Tantrum several times, put him in the screws, flipped him over, and it seemed like Tantrum would be done. They were not getting underneath, but somehow they managed to outwedge Lightning later in the fight. I don't know exactly how, but once they started doing that, it was complete domination. But the fight just changed completely. They just threw Lightning all around here, and it only took a couple of shots before they flipped Lightning and then threw them out of the arena in one of the most violent hits we've seen all season. And with that, Tantrum advances to its 3rd round of 16 appearance in a row. And with that, Tantrum is the first bot to advance to the round of 16, the 3rd number 10 seed to do so in 3 seasons. And they just continue their march on. They're looking to make a deep run, and that was their first step. Now we move to the bottom right quadrant of the bracket, where we see the number 3 overall seed Hydra take on the 30 seed Cobalt. Hydra and Cobalt, a very fascinating match we have here. 2 bots with not the most reliable or effective wedges. Both bots we've seen struggle over and over again, Hydra especially in this season, and Cobalt is also in seasons past. So it's really, who knows who's going to win this fight. I mean, if Hydra gets underneath that high center of mass, it's not going to do Cobalt any favors, as Hydra certainly has the weapon power to flip it over. But if Cobalt can get underneath, they could really rip up those forks of Hydra and then completely cripple it. So it's just a matter of who gets underneath first and who lands that early shot. So let's go down to the arena to see what happens. let the bot battle begin. Cobalt getting underneath in the first exchange, but Hydra getting underneath and landing a solid flip, but Cobalt stays upright and gets underneath a Hydra again. Cobalt's weapon just can't really seem to reach Hydra, that's the problem it's got right now, but is getting underneath Hydra. There goes a fork. Cobalt starting to chip away at those defenses, though Hydra fires back with another flip. Inconsistent ground battle here, neither team gained the complete upper hand. Cobalt is getting underneath a lot more often, but Hydra is taking full advantage of the times it does get underneath, while Cobalt isn't really even able to make major contact with Hydra, except there, but that just cost him previously with a weapon and somehow didn't rip off a fork. Those forks are not well attached, so if Cobalt can keep landing shots there, eventually they will come off, but more of the weapon breaks off and Hydra manages to slip underneath. Cobalt is losing this game of attrition right now. They are not doing enough damage to Hydra's forks to be able to win this fight, and we've really got a stalemate right now as both bots struggle to really make effective each other. But now Cobalt getting underneath the 3 seed, flipping them into the screws, flipping them over. Great sequence there from Cobalt. They may have to win this by control, but Hydra gets underneath, lands a flip, and gets Cobalt upside down and throws them out of the arena. I'd say, honestly, Cobalt was having the advantage for most of that fight, surprisingly. Sure, Hydra was landing some decent flips, but they didn't really land a lot, and Cobalt was more consistent in getting underneath, but they failed to break those forks, and that was what really caused the long-term doom of Cobalt. Hydra's ground game remained at least the same, while Cobalt's weapon just broke down throughout the fight and eventually stopped working entirely. While Hydra was basically intact aside from that one fork, and this just war of attrition that Hydra was just able to survive, even though Cobalt got that great sequence where they flipped Hydra and threw them into the screws. Hydra was able to get underneath, and all it needed was one flip to get Cobalt over and another to throw them out of the arena, even though they could have just taken the win there. The 3 seed in a close contest marches on. Though it isn't the greatest performance, the number 3 seed rookie Hydra advances to his first round of 16. From one top 4 seed to the next, we now see the number 2 overall seed Riptide face the 31 seed Fusion. Well, this is both bots' second straight round of 32 appearance. These two bots' performances this season could not be much more different. Riptide, of course, going 4-0, getting that top 4 seed, blowing through all of its opponents. And while Fusion had to win a play-in match against Big Deal to even make it to the postseason, and it did struggle quite a bit in that fight. Fusion's decent ground game could pose somewhat of a problem for Riptide. They could just get underneath and just stall against Riptide, but I don't really see them being able to do much. Riptide is a very heavy machine, and those reliability upgrades have just really made it just a much better bot overall, and Riptide's weapon will always just be hovering there, waiting to land a massive shot to cripple Fusion. Let's see who wins this fight down the arena. Let the bot battle begin. Fusion quickly turn around and actually is able to get underneath Riptide, like I said, but loses one of its forks in the process. There goes another one. Both forks on the left side of Fusion are gone. Now they're in the screws. Riptide on the attack early and getting underneath Fusion now, but Fusion's designed preventing it from getting a good bite in and just throwing Fusion out of the arena. And so far, Fusion kind of spins up its horizontal and great shot. They get deflected away, and that's probably where you want to be, select Riptide just away. But now Riptide gets a good bite, and now able to flip Fusion over. This fight looks over, and yes it is. Oh my goodness. Riptide did what we all expected. Fusion got one little nibble in there, they got one good attack in, but Riptide just wore them down after that. They took out the left side of Fusion's forks, which really hampered their ability to get underneath at all. And eventually they were able to flip Fusion over and then send them flying out of the arena. A much better and more more convincing performance than Hydra had against Cobalt, and Riptide gets its first ever tournament win. Riptide locks its place in the round of 16, the number 2 seed able to triumph over the 31. We now move back to the bottom right, where we see the 11 seed Titan facing the 22 seed Stormbound. Titan was also last season's number 11 seed, where they made it past this fight, but Fusion is in that place, and I'd say Stormbound is a more competent opponent. It's all going to come down to who has the better wedge in this one. Stormbound could certainly deal some damage to Titan and certainly flip it over, but if Titan gets underneath, they could send Stormbound flying, and Stormbound cannot drive inverted, nor can it self-right, which is a huge problem when you're facing a weapon as powerful as Titan. Let's see who's able to get the win in this one down the arena. Let the bot battle begin. And Stormbound getting underneath Titan already, trying to get some damage on that wedge early, but Titan counterattacks, ripping off a piece of Stormbound's wedge, but more importantly flipping it over, but Titan lets them go, evidently not learning from what happened to Lunar New Year. While they do land another shot, it's Stormbound getting underneath now. But regroup, and now Stormbound gets underneath again. Titan just should have let Stormbound be, but now they're flipped over and almost thrown to the screws. But that's, well, now they've flipped Stormbound over again, and they're looking to continue their attack. You see the crack in Stormbound's frame now. They're looking to rip Stormbound apart. There goes the wedge, hurtling out of the arena. And Titan is looking to just finish Stormbound. They're looking to rip it in half now. There is no reason to continue this fight other than mindless destruction, which Titan is very good at. They get Stormbound in the right position, and that's gonna do it.
10,
Titan,
9,
despite
8,
some issues, is able to
7,
rip Stormbound to shreds
5,
and advances
4,
to the round of
3,
16 for the
2,
second
1,
season in a row.
knockout.
It was Stormbound who got the advantage of the first exchange, but Titan could have ended on their very first hit. They ripped a piece off Stormbound's wedge and flipped it over, but they did not learn from Stormbound's fight against Lunar New Year earlier in the season and continued to go on the attack. Unlike Lunar New Year, however, this paid out well for them, as despite Stormbound getting a couple more shots and putting Titan on the back foot for a little bit, Titan was able to get underneath again and flip Stormbound over, and they just spent the latter half of that fight just ripping Stormbound apart, ripping off the wedge, and then splitting the whole bot in half. The 22 seed falls yet again into the sheer power of Battlebots explains to Titan. With Titan gaining victory over Stormbound, they advance to the round of 16, and they will be watching our main event between Nemesis and Venom Strike closely. That fight will happen later on in the episode, but first we move back to the top right. Next up, we'll see probably one of the most hyped up fights in the first round of the tournament, the 7 seed Bloodsport versus the 26 seed Uppercut. Looking at these bots' histories, it's clear why this is a favorite fight. Two of the most powerful spinners the competition has ever seen, and two of the more successful ones, Uppercut making 3rd place all the way back in Season 1, while Bloodsport taking the 3 seed in Season 2 and advancing to the quarterfinals, where it was just barely stopped by Whiplash. But I'd say Bloodsport has the massive advantage in this one, and Bloodsport can take shots from verticals, and it has the reach advantage, while Uppercut that has not done well against horizontals in the past, looking at Nemesis specifically. But let's see if Uppercut can pull off the upset, or if Bloodsport will take the win down the arena. Let the bot battle begin. Both bots spinning up their mighty weapons, and it's Uppercut getting the advantage in the first shot. That was probably like a perfect shot, hitting the blade directly and sending Bloodsport back. but not so lucky on the next couple shots, getting violently spun by a Bloodsport. But now, oh, very interesting exchange there. Both bots trying to control each other. There's another shot from Bloodsport with that weapon, and Uppercut's weapon may have been seriously damaged. You see a piece of it lying on the ground, and it's already starting to sound not very healthy. But Uppercut able to get Bloodsport into the screws and even flip them over. 7 seed facing at least some pressure from Uppercut in this fight, but they are back on their feet immediately, and now they have split Uppercut in two. Well, that's the end of this fight. Uppercut put up a surprisingly valiant effort, but in the end, the mighty spinner of Bloodsport marches on to the round of 16.
1, knockout.
Well, Uppercut surprisingly got advantage of the first exchange, bouncing Bloodsport back, but it really didn't do much. Bloodsport shots were much more impactful, and while Uppercut took a surprising number of hits from that mighty horizontal blade, and were even able to flip Bloodsport over by pushing them into the screws once. Bloodsport was just too much to handle, and eventually Uppercut was ripped apart. Good to see Uppercut back in the tournament, but Bloodsport just outclassed it in this one. And Bloodsport, with that win, picks up its 12th win of its career and advances to the round of 16 for the second season in a row. We're only 5 fights into the tournament, and I think we already see the main event for the round of 16. Bloodsport and Tantrum is just a fight that you don't want to miss. That is just gonna be an insane clash, but that's 2 episodes in the future. We're sticking on with the round of 32 in this episode. We now turn back to the bottom right to see who will take on the number 3 seed Hydra as the 14 seed Gigabyte faces the 19 seed Bronco. Both of these bots are Season 1 veterans making the tournament. In that season, Gigabyte was able to make it to the round of 16 while Bronco was not, and both bots end up with very similar overall records heading into the tournament. And both bots had fairly similar strength performances, as you can see from they're pretty close in seeding. Bronco has a very strong wedge and a decently powerful flipper, which should be enough to get Gigabyte out of the arena if they can get the right opportunity. However, Gigabyte certainly has the weapon power to do enough damage to Bronco in order to knock it out. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Let's see what happens down the arena. Let the bot battle begin. Gigabyte spinning up and Bronco using that back wedge to deflect them, not able to pin them there. There goes a piece of Bronco's wedge. Bronco now getting underneath, pinning Gigabyte in the corner, putting them in some serious trouble already. Nearly out of the arena. That was almost catastrophic for Gigabyte, but they do escape and spin back up. But that wedge doing a great job of deflecting Gigabyte. Bronco in complete control right now, and now they get Gigabyte next to the pit. This could be disastrous. Oh my goodness, they nearly get them out again. Bronco just hovering, threatening Gigabyte with that flipper, but they just can't get the right angle to send Gigabyte to its end. And now you can see a crack starting to form in the side of Bronco. They might be running out of time here, or actually. But there's a great flip, but they just miss again. Bronco's struggling here, and they just miss yet again with a massive flip. But now they are split in half. Gigabyte able to escape, and the countdown has begun. Gigabyte escaping death several times over, outlasting Bronco and advancing to the round of 16. Now this was just a dominant performance by Bronco. I mean, they had control throughout the majority of the fight. I mean, they nearly got Gigabyte out of the arena or in the pit like several times. Gigabyte was just lucky to stay alive, but eventually you could see a crack start to form in the side of Bronco's chassis. That the frame just couldn't take the flips that Bronco was landing, and eventually that resulted in the end of Bronco. An unfortunate end to their season. They were doing so well. But as for Gigabyte, with some very close calls, they advanced to their second round of 16. Gigabyte takes the victory, advancing to the round 16 to take on the number 3 seed Hydra, another flipper with some reliability issues. We'll see that fight in round 16, but for now, we move back up to the top right quadrant. Our final fight of this episode in the top right quadrant shall see the 15 seed Gingerbread face the 18 seed Retribution. Well, the fight between the 15 seed Gingerbread and the 18 seed Retribution is all going to come down to ground game. If Gingerbread can get underneath, they will be able to easily control Retribution and quite easily get into the screws and flip it over. But if Retribution is able to get underneath, that could cause some serious problems by ripping off those wedges and just sending Gingerbread flying. Gingerbread cannot self-right, but then again, neither can Retribution. So whoever wins the first ground game exchange is probably going to win the fight. Let's go down to the arena to see what happens. Let the bot battle begin. Retribution spins up, and it's Gingerbread getting underneath. Not able to use the screws to flip Retribution there, and not able to do it again. But Gingerbread has got underneath twice now, 3 times. Gingerbread very consistent to start this fight, and already trying to peel away the wedge, which would be catastrophic. Or they could just flip Retribution over somehow. I don't know how they managed to do that, but that is going to be the end of this fight. Gingerbread takes the knockout and advances to its first ever round of 16.
1. Knockout.
Well, Gingerbread was able to get underneath, and they took control. The first couple shots, they didn't really able to do much, but they eventually managed to get the wedge off and flip Retribution over somehow. And with that, Retribution is eliminated from the bracket, and Gingerbread marches on to the round of 16 to face the number 2 overall seed Riptide in a rematch from earlier this season. And with that, the top right quadrant of the round of 16 is set. The number 2 seed Riptide faces a clash, a rematch against the 15 seed Gingerbread, while the 7 seed Bloodsport takes on the 10 seed Tantrum in what's probably going to be the main event of the round of 16. There's only one fight left in this episode. The channel mascot, the number 6 seed Nemesis, faced the 27 seed AI-designed Venom Strike. Nemesis heading into their 3rd straight tournament run. We know how good they are. They're incredibly powerful, incredibly durable. Only real vulnerability is big wedges, and Venom Strike does not have the best of wedges. Sure, they have decent forks, and they're able to pull off a win against Captain Shredderator earlier in their Challengers fight, but their most recent fight against the full body spinner against Gigabyte, they lost that one. It was an incredibly close fight, but still, Nemesis is on an entirely different level from the rest of the full body spinners in terms of just sheer weapon power and reliability. Okay, so Venom Strike is gonna have to play this one incredibly carefully if it wants to pull out the win here. Nemesis, they just need to go in on Venom Strike, not get overly aggressive, but just smack it over and over again until it breaks. Let's see if that happens, or if we get a surprise upset down the arena. Let the bot battle begin! Oh, there go 2 of the forks off of Venom Strike already. Not a good start, but they do get a deflection there. But there go the rest of the forks, just ripped right off. Nemesis' power level really showing in this fight already. Venom Strike already struggling. They're getting... Oh, there goes the tail! That's a lot of weight that could have helped save Venom Strike, but that's not gonna help them anymore. They're just getting sent flying, oh my goodness, all the way around the arena. Into the wall again. Oh, but Venom Strike trying to go for that tail again, but Nemesis denies it. Venom Strike tried to go for that tail just like they did in the fight against Gigabyte, but Nemesis, quick on the draw, able to stop them from doing that, and now pummeling them in the corner. Nemesis taking the role of the control bot here as it rips Venom Strike apart, and most of that front is gone. I don't know if Venom Strike can even move at all. It's not moving right now, and Nemesis just looks like it's playing with its food. this fight does in fact appear to be over. One last minor shot from Nemesis, and the countdown is on. What a dominant performance by the number 6 seed.
2, 1, knockout.
I mean, this was just yet another classic Nemesis fight. Those forks got obliterated. And it was all of the forks gone right up there. Then the tail came off, and Venom Strike was in a world of hurt in the early going. And they tried to go, and later on they tried to use that tail strat that they used in the Gigabyte fight, and Nemesis just said, "Nuh-uh, I ain't dealing with that," batted them away, and then pummeled them in the corner. The adaptability of Nemesis is just one of the many factors that make it so great, and its ability to become a control bot and pummel Venom Strike in the corner in this scenario really expedited this fight and allowed Nemesis to take an easy knockout victory and advance to the round of 16. And with that, the round of 16 is set for the right side of the bracket. 0 upsets at all this episode, though some bots came pretty dang close. The number 2 overall seed Riptide faces a rematch with the 15 seed Gingerbread. The 7 seed Bloodsport takes on the 10 seed Tantrum in what already looks like the best fight of the round of 16. The 3 seed Hydra enters an IRL rematch with the 14 seed Gigabyte. And finally, the number 6 seed channel mascot Nemesis faces Titan, the 11 seed, in a rematch from all the way back in Season 1. Join us next time for when we see the left half of the round of 32.